Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Raven Willow's page. That's me. Okay, so today's topic for surviving being an empath. We're going to talk about death. So, one is because you're an empath, you could feel the living and the dead and any other unexplainable thing in the universe. And people tend to they fear what is going to happen to them when they die. They fear when people are taken from them, when their animals are taken from them. It's too soon. This shouldn't have happened. And then the anger, and then people start to shut down, or they live their life under some religious guise of, you know, after you die, then you're going to be judged and heaven and hell and an apocalypse and all of these things. But having a fear of death is like any other fear. It is, yes, I'm going to say it, is ignorance. You need to educate yourself on things. You need to look into things. You need to research things. And not just from one person's point of view, mine, yours, anybody's, from multiple points. You need to take in information. And that is part of educating yourself, which is vital for even existing. So, here we go. If you have lost loved ones and you're confused, there's been unsaid things, unfinished business, um, it was traumatic, it was whatever it is. Maybe it was peaceful and they're not suffering anymore. Whatever the reasons behind the death, um, then people reach out to people like me, people that are psychics, because we can see and communicate with those people and get those messages conveyed. So, as somebody that sees the dead and can communicate with the dead, I can tell you that death is not what you think that it is. And people that love you and are connected with you and have deep relationships with you do not leave you. And it doesn't matter what kind of life form that comes in. And they will make themselves known. And some people are highly sensitive to that, like me, and some people aren't. So, yeah, you need to pay attention to the things going on around you or ring up someone like me. But beyond that, the better, I'm going to leave religious views out of this and just talk about the things that I have personally dealt with. Every person that has died, or my animals, anything that I am closely connected to that has died after, years of studying enlightenment and doing all of these things, I can tell you that they are literally right here. Communication is just different. So, in that sense, they don't leave you. You just need to reach out. So, if you can get rid of that fear, that anger, that's one step down. So, if you are constantly living your life with the fear of there's some kind of judgment and I'm going to be in freaking trouble and whatever, that's a hard one for me to address without getting religious, but I'm going to try. Even in especially Christian religion, I could talk about that because I study history. So I'll do it from that sense. Okay, so even in Christian religion, okay, They talk about spirit in the Bible. Okay. It's always been there, it has always been around, right? And the people that know you, that love you, they're still there. So no matter if you want to call it heaven or whatever, they're still there. Now, you also have dead people that stay because they get stuck or because something else has trapped them there, whatever, some kind of negative something's going on. That's a whole different ballgame we'll talk about in a different segment. So that kind of dead situation, we'll talk about that later. But if you can get past all of, you know, the pain and the anguish of losing someone and the fear of what death is, you could start to live your life for right now. Appreciate the moments that you're in right now. And especially as an empath, you need to do that every second of the day because you are bombarded from both sides. It's pretty much an interdimensional highway. All things correlate through interdimensional highway, no matter if it's spirit, if it's energy, if it's aliens, Bigfoot, I don't even know. But there are those dimensions. So if somebody was to call it heaven, you go right on and call it heaven. So the point of today is as an empath, you also need to not be afraid of the dead because they're all around. And if there is not living people in the vicinity that are throwing off emotions that aren't yours, you can 100% guarantee it is something in some other realm, veil, dimension, whatever you want to call it. So just because something might sound aggressive, like get out or that kind of thing, or it sounds like it's snarly and yelling if you hear it, or if you're doing like EVP work or whatever you're gonna do, if you see it and it looks like it's mangled and it's, think of they have to find a way now to communicate with you. So just because something might seem odd, scary, intense, as an empath, you need to literally say, okay, hold up, let me feel this out. Okay. Is this a person from the other side trying to reach out to me? And it sounds like it's maybe screaming when it comes out, or something might seem aggressive, like, oh, something like flew across the room. Okay, maybe that's the only way they could get your attention. Okay, but to me, that's like saying you're an empath, you're not paying attention. And if you don't want to pay attention because you're like, this is my space and I don't want to deal with this in my space, then that's your job to put up those walls and those blockers so that things cannot come in and out. So let's not fear death and things that are unknown. Let's look at them and feel it out first and then make a judgment. Because, yes, there are scary things out there that you probably don't want to mess with without knowing what you're getting into. Perfectly understandable. So, as always, I will leave links at the bottom if anybody wants to contact me with questions, comments, anything like that. But as always, I ask that you be absolutely respectful. This is not a dating app. This is not a place to bash people. This is not a place for anger, any of those kinds of things. So if that is your deal, please don't. And, live your life the way that you want to live it. But keep this in mind. If death is not scary, you live your life for what is happening right now. not what is going to happen in the future. So if you do that, you miss life. Life passes you by. You do need to plan and have goals and live for the future. Yes, of course. But if you're constantly worried about what is this thing that is eventually going to happen to my body and my spirit and whatever you want to call it, soul, and it's not scary, folks. If you're a bad person in life, you're a bad person in death. And that's up to you on either side to change the way you are. So, just that's my hope for everybody today. Let's not be so scared of death, especially you empaths, and just keep working on yourselves and taking care of yourselves. And every single day, do that self care. Uh, because if you don't, it will get very, very overwhelming. And in the next video that I put out, I am going to talk about what happens to empaths that there's just too much in life and too much hurt, and how that can either just block you from knowing yourself or lead to some more depressing things. So keep your heads up, my peeps. Anybody that has any questions, psychic questions, world questions, healing questions, I am a Reiki master too. Shoot them out there. I'm happy to answer. And I will see everybody super soon.